Hi guys, I'm Kavilwag and this is Archiclan, and we have something different with us this week. I'm currently in the process of writing some short stories and some fiction writing for my master's portfolio. And this is one of the story. Because of my full-time job, I cannot completely dedicate my time to making videos, but this is the content I'm currently making, so I thought why not make a video about it. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Keshav and Dalbir were riding their horses in the arid desert, Badal and Bablu. The white horses looked handsome and muscular. It was most pleasing horse in the state of Rajasthan, and it had to be because Keshav had borrowed it from the king of the state. Bablu was a black-colored horse, equally tough and strong, and had white freckle around his neck. The king lent them the horses to find a proper trade route across the Thar desert. The journey is not an easy task, Keshav, said Dalbir. And he continued, "Do you have everything we need?" "Yes, and it's going to be fine," said Keshav. "How do you know?" asked the puzzled Dalbir. "Come, let me tell you on the way," said Keshav. They trotted across the orange sand dunes. The sun was high in altitude. Mirages were forming as the sun glistened on the ground. Dalbir caught up with Keshav and asked him again, "Why are you so sure about this journey?" "My dear friend, the trade route is crucial to us, and it can open various earning opportunities for our kingdom and all its fellow subjects," said Keshav and continued. "After the second famine, it is impossible to feed everyone for another year or even 6 months. The king called me in his chamber and told me about an oasis." "That legend?" exclaimed Dalbir and stopped his horse in a pull. Keshav went a few strides ahead of him before stopping his horse and turning Badal around. "Don't tell me you have brought us in the middle of this hot sea of death, where carcasses of naive explorers like us have fed vulture babies for decades," said an infuriated Dalbir. "Come on, it's not like that." The king had informants of his own. He pulled out some coffee beans and showed it to Dalbir. He asked, "What do coffee beans have to do with this journey? Do you know about Baba Budan, the wealthy traveler who traveled across Arabia?" "Yes, he brought these coffee beans to India and now grows and sells them," said Dalbir. "Saudi Arabia has severe restrictions on bringing anything back from the country. So he smuggled 7 coffee beans from Arabia in his beard and came to Chandagiri hills of Karnataka. He planted them there and is now selling them for profit," said Keshav, holding the coffee bean. And he continued, "He couldn't have done this without crossing the Thar desert. While he's fine with sharing the story and the coffee beans, he is very secretive about the route he took. The king assumed that he used the Thar oasis but wants to keep the location to himself. But if we can solve it, we can solve all the problems of the private traders and bring our state to its initial glory," said Keshav. "Do we have any intel?" inquired Dalbir. "Well, we have a map. We just have to follow Mercury through the sky in the desert," said Keshav. "It's not that easy. How are we supposed to locate it when we are near?" inquired Dalbir. "It is said that white-colored birds fly across the oasis, marking the spot." "Anything else?" asked Dalbir. "Well, there is a poem written behind the map." The poem reads, "Honey and sugar attract feathery creatures. The god of translator will guide you to the destination. The scorpion frets the blue stone. The feathery creatures must be the birds. The god of translator is Mercury. So we have to follow Mercury and locate the birds," said Dalbir. "What is the scorpion and the blue stone?" The king said. "Anything else?" inquired Dalbir. "He gave me crossbow, a necklace, and of course some honey jars." Keshav held up a glass of dewdrop pendant, which was cloudy white and seemed asleep. "Well, 600 kilometers to travel, and he gave us the most ubiquitous things we can find in Rajasthan market on a Tuesday," exasperated Dalbir. "That's all we have. Let's get on with it," said Keshav. They both started to ride the horses and covered a great distance on their first day. Exhausted, they decided to stop, but could not find a proper place with shade or protection. While riding the horse, Keshav heard a tune. Keshav almost thought he was dreaming until Dalbir said, Do you hear the music? Oh yes, sounds like a flute. Where is it coming from? Asked Keshav. They both started to follow the song and ended up near a settlement that looked like a small village. The houses had made of mud and thatched roof. The village was on a large recessed bowl-type plateau. They would have never found it if it was not for the flute music. They entered the bounds of village through the colonies with the houses. The houses were built of mud and had faded colors. Suddenly a half-naked brown man with white color paint marks all over his body and feather attached to his head mimicking a hat yelled at them in a different language. They were stunned. Keshav almost drew his crossbow, but Dalbir stopped him and stepped down from his horse. He said, "मैं तुम्हें तकलीफ नहीं देना चाहता," which meant I don't want to hurt you. The man looked confused. Dalbir continued, "मैं नकलिस्तान की तलाश में हूँ," meaning I am in the search of an oasis. The village man saw the cloudy pendant around Keshav's neck. He said something in his native Urdu language. Dalbir heard him and said he's inviting us to the central communal area. They walked with the man to the center of the village and saw a massive tree with people gathered around it. They were seated down and praying. He guided them to the edge of the communal area and went ahead to speak with the village elder. They saw the village man talk to the person with the same clothes. He seemed fresher and had golden colored robes. The village elder asked in his language, "What is the purpose of your visit?" "We are in the search of the oasis, directly ordered from the king of Rajasthan." The village elder saw Keshav's necklace and asked, "How did you get it?" Dalbir answered, "The king himself." Both Dalbir and Keshav were confused, and Dalbir asked, "Can we please have refuge in the village for tonight? We will be gone by the dawn tomorrow. The king will reward you handsomely." The elder said, "Only on one condition. You have set out on this journey, yet you have no idea the horrors that await you, which are far more dangerous than any storms and droughts." Dalbir asked, "What's the condition?" "Not far from here lives a creature in the Valley of Death. It is a giant creature and looks like a scorpion. His vicious sting has killed hundreds of our tribe. You have to kill him for us," said the village elder. "Why should we do that?" asked Dalbir. "The scorpion hoards our crops and water. We want nothing but to be free of him," responded the village elder. "But we only have a basic knowledge of combat, and we can't kill the creature even if we wanted to," said Dalbir. "Oh, but you can. Your king is no naive man. He sent you with the pendant not only to fetch him the location of the oasis, but to kill the creature. The pendant this man wears has magical powers. It can kill the scorpion with it. It is said the scorpion only answers to the mystical powers. The opulent crystal on your neck is nothing but a magical stone. It powers up around these unknown creatures and commands them to do things," said the village elder. "How are we supposed to kill it?" asked Keshav after Dalbir translated everything. Dalbir said to the elder, "Sir, we cannot kill it, and we don't even know how." "That's for you to know and us to hear later," said the village elder. They looked at each other and didn't know how to respond. "Think on it for now. You need to sleep," said the village elder. Both had been given a futon to sleep on and some bread. Well water had rained, so they offered them a boiling jar of underground water. Though it appeared undrinkable, they had a bit of it and slept. They slept in the cold winter night besides the campfire. The following morning in dawn, they left the village on their horses. The village elder saw them off and told Dalbir one more thing before leaving. If nothing works, they are frightened by fire. They packed their bags with some food and water and left. They rode their horses towards the valley as promised. "This is crazy. We should just leave." "And not keep our promise? That's not virtuous," said Dalbir. They took the little detour up north, along the Valley of Death during the day. On their way, they spotted a massive circular rock that looked like a 360-degree arch. It was perpendicular to the ground and almost looked like a portal, besides which was a 40 feet wide valley. They decided to camp for the night. They fed their horses and set up camp. Keshav and Dalbir sat beside the campfire and ate food and drank from their canteens. Dalbir and Keshav kept guard during the night. Both of them started to doze off as the night passed. Keshav heard a muted sound. He looked around but saw nothing but a circular rock. He did not think much of it. Just in front of him, he saw tiny scorpion-like creatures moving in a straight line. He instantly got a bad feeling and picked up the wooden torch. He tried waking Dalbir, but he seemed to be in a deep sleep. He decided to inquire without him and picked up the crossbow. He had stepped in the opposite direction of the rock. His face was half lit in orange due to the torch. He started following the little scorpions and reached the end of the valley. He saw nothing but darkness. Suddenly, the ground shook like an earthquake. An enormous creature filled the valley. It had red eyes and almost looked like a scorpion. Baffled, Keshav ran away. The scorpion crawled out of the valley and ran towards Keshav. Keshav tripped and fell. Just as the scorpion was about to hit him, Keshav closed his eyes and put his hand on his face. He expected to die, but there was nothing but silence. He waited for a moment before opening his eyes. The giant looked phased. He was bewildered and felt something around his neck. The white-colored necklace was now radiating in blue. The scorpion was hooked and did not move. Keshav stood up and took out the necklace. The scorpion fixed his gaze on the pendant, and his eyes would follow wherever it went. Keshav was amazed and confused as to how to proceed now. He tried swinging it like a pendulum, and the scorpion followed. Just as he was about to think something, a voice roared from behind him and threw a fire torch at the scorpion. It was Dalbir. The scorpion got restless and forgot about the magic that held his gaze, and it started to move in an erratic pattern. It dug a hole underneath and crawled across. The scorpion appeared behind Dalbir and slashed his back, and Dalbir fell to the ground. Keshav shot the scorpion with an arrow from his crossbow. The scorpion left Dalbir and went for Keshav. As he was approaching, Keshav loaded the pendant on the arrow and aimed it at the scorpion. The scorpion opened his jaw, Keshav fired, and the arrow flew through his jaw to its stomach. The creature fell to the ground, motionless. Keshav ran towards Dalbir, who was injured by the scorpion. Keshav mended his wounds as much as possible and gave him some medicines for the pain. When he saw Dalbir could not move any further, he put him on his horse and sent it to the direction of the village. He managed to wrap the scorpion head in a bundle to Dalbir's horse. Before sending him, he mounted Badal and rode across the dunes to find the oasis. It was a new dawn, and he saw Mercury lining with the northeast. He sped his horse in the direction. On the horizon, he saw the oasis and got extremely happy. But when he reached the area, it seemed to vanish from the point. He kept chasing the oasis and speeding his horse, but the oasis kept on teleporting further away each time. Soon his horse could not carry anymore and he stopped. He realized that he had stretched Badal to its limits. He split some food and water with Badal and decided to leave him there. He wrapped his head with the scarf and kept on walking. On his way, he saw an old man sitting on a rock, resembling too much like the village elder. The old man said, "You thought this would be an easy task, but you have reached your limit. I wanted this for the wrong reasons. I dragged my friend into this. I'm not a great man," cried Keshav. The old man did not answer. In fact, when Keshav looked up, he had vanished. Keshav realized that exhaustion had gotten to him, and he needed to carry forward for the sake of the villagers and himself. Just as some motivation surged his body to move forward, a sandstorm hit him. He started to dig a hole and hid in it until the storm passed. The storm was challenging and disoriented his vision. The storm got over, he got up exhausted. Keshav ambled through the desert and fought the menacing wind. The sand went all over his clothes due to the sandstorm. He was feeling weak and tripped as he walked. The dunes were only visible because of the moonlight, and the torch was now slowly fading. The darkness was creeping in. No, it was his eyes that were closing, realized Keshav. He fell to his knees, lost and defeated. All darkness surrounded his vision, and everything was black. Keshav woke up in a rather fancy-looking room with white and blue tiles. He seemed to regain some strength and sat up in his bed. The room looked like a doctor's clinic. Only he had never seen a clean room like this ever before. A poster in front of him read, "Welcome to the Oasis City." This is the story I wrote for my master's portfolio, and if you like it, tell me in the comments, and I sure hope to write some more. Thank you, and see you in the next video. The village was on a large recessed bowl-type plateau. The village was on a large recessed bowl-type plateau. The village was on a large recessed bowl-type plateau.